The House Owner and the House Guest.
Wait.
There is a story about a man who had just moved from a distant village to live in a new place. He found a suitable spot where he could build himself a house. After his new house had just been constructed, he met a passerby who asked him to stay there.
Hello, I've come from a distant place and I have nowhere to stay. Would you allow me to stay here for a few days?
No problem. You can stay here for a while. Since I've just moved here and I don't know too many people either, at least I won't be lonely.
Thank you. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to go up to the room and take a rest first.
After this conversation, the house owner allowed the traveller to stay with him at his new house.
Mr. Menu, are you up already? You're preparing a cart. Where are you going? Why are you up so early?
Well, Mr. Sum, I always wake up early. I have a lot of work to do at the farm. As a farmer, I have no choice.
Would you like me to help? I feel a little uncomfortable otherwise, since I'm staying for free.
It's all right. I have nothing but food, but that's enough since I'm a farmer. Well, I have to go back to farm now.
Good luck!
The house owner got up early to farm every day and came back at dusk.
Wait. Mr. Som, I'm back, and I caught some big fish today. I'll cook a delicious meal for you. You should stay around.
You're amazing. Not only can you make delicious meals, but you can also do all the agricultural jobs. The woman who has you as a husband will be a very lucky one. While we're on the subject, when will you decide to marry?
Well, sir, I actually have a crush on a woman whose name is Bo Per. She is the daughter of a quite wealthy family from a nearby village. When I've saved a lot of money, I think I will ask her to marry me.
You've thought through such a precise plan for your future. I don't even know where to start, since I have nothing.
Oh, don't overpraise me. I'm not as great as you say. I just work as hard as I can, since I'm still an energetic young man. That will work for you too. You still have enough time and energy if you want to start now. It's not too late.
I think it's time I start working as hard as you do.
After their chat, they each went to their rooms. In the morning, the house owner got up early and went to the farm as usual, while the house guest was left alone at home. At that moment, another traveller passed by.
Hello, Mr. Homeowner. Would you share some water with me, please? I'm so thirsty. Yes, indeed. Please come in. I'll get the water for you. Here you are. Thank you very much. Where do you live? Well, I live at the edge of the village. When you get there, you will see a big tree. My house is there. If you pass by there, please don't forget to visit me. Yes, I'll visit there one day. I have to go now. It's getting a bit late in the day.
The passerby continued his journey. Meanwhile, the house guest was happy that he'd been addressed as the homeowner.
Perhaps I look like I'm the owner of the house. What can I do to own a house like this? I'm still penniless. If I'd worked hard and saved money earlier, I too would have owned a house and lived peacefully.
As the days went by, he became more and more consumed by the idea. He tried to think of every possible way to own a house, but he couldn't come up with one. 1 month later, it was time for the traveller to leave. The house owner asked his guest to move out so that his parents could come and live with him.
Sir, next week my parents are coming to live with me, so please could you find yourself a new place?
What? Are your parents going to live here? I was planning to stay here for a year. Please let me stay for 1 more week, then I'll leave.
The guest was angry with the house owner, but he couldn't let him know. He was worried because he couldn't think of anywhere to stay. Finally, an idea came to him. I've got an idea. Joists? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tiles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 5th joist has some parts eaten by termites. After quite some time, the house guest had counted all the building materials: joists, trellises, tie beams, handrails, laths, roof rafters, ceiling joists. He noted down everything in the house. A week later, it was time for the house guest to leave.
Sir, now it's time for you to move out. Are you done preparing your things?
What? How dare you chase me away? This is my house. You are the one who has to leave.
How can you be like this? I was generous enough to allow you to stay, but in return you abuse my kindness and mistreat me.
If you're not happy, you can sue me.
The 2 men squabbled over the house, and finally they ended up going to court.
Your Honor!
Your Honor! All right, gentlemen. What are you arguing about?
Your Honor, that house is mine. I had just built it before I let this man stay there temporarily. He stayed for around a month, and then not only didn't move out when I asked him to, but also claimed that the house is his. Please give me justice.
That's not true, Your Honor. The house is mine. I had just built it, and then this man asked to stay temporarily for 1 month. Now he wants to fight to get my house. Please give me justice, Your Honor.
Since each of you claims that the house is yours, do you have any evidence?
Indeed, Your Honor. I have evidence because I was the one who built it. I remember everything, even the construction materials.
Mr. Sum, if you can remember all of them, please describe them.
Certainly, Your Honor. There are 12 posts in total, 32 joists, 148 trellises, 4 windows, 18 stairs. In short, I remember everything.
The house guest described all the house materials, which he had memorized perfectly. How about you, Mr. Menup? Do you remember all these house materials?
Well, sir, I just know some of them. I don't know the exact amount of those materials because I didn't remember it. However, that house really is mine.
The house owner didn't remember the exact amount of his house materials, so he answered incorrectly. Unlike the house guest, who had noted down everything in advance and was able to give all the right answers. The magistrate sent the servants to go and count the house materials. These were exactly the same as the house guest had stated. The amount of building materials is exactly the same as what Mr. Sum described. Mr. Sum, do you still have any other evidence?
Yes, sir. I have a witness, Mr. Sang. He lives in the neighboring village.
The magistrate asked the servants to call upon the man who had asked for water from the house guest to be a witness. Sir, do you really know Mr. Sum?
Your Honor, I do know Mr. Sum. He is a kind person who I always ask for water whenever I pass by his house. And I have never seen this young man.
That's because I leave the house early in the morning and come back at dusk. That's why he's never seen me.
Mr. Sum remembered every detail of the building materials, and considered alongside the witnesses' statements, Mr. Sum has enough evidence. I therefore rule that Mr. Sum wins the case. Mr. Menup loses the case, as he didn't know much about the quantity of the building materials.
That's unfair, Your Honor. The house is mine.
After the case was closed, Both men walked out together.
You are so cruel. You turned black into white and turned white into black. I can't accept this. Give me back my house.
How come you let me stay and then chased me away? I won't just get your house. I'll also marry Beaupère when I've saved a lot of money.
Why did you do this? It's just not right.
The house owner was so disappointed that he kept crying at the injustice. He simply couldn't accept it. In the morning, the house owner went to the palace and brought his case to the king. Well, what happened between the two of you? Tell me everything.
Your Majesty, Mr. Sum asked me to let him stay in my house for a short while. But later on, he not only refused to leave, but also tried to chase me away.
Your Majesty, it's he who asked to stay in my house. When I asked him to leave, he didn't do so. The house is really mine. Please let me describe all the building materials for you, Your Majesty. There are 12 posts in total, 32 joists, 148 trellises, 4 windows, 18 stairs.
The house guest described all the details, just as he had before.
Also, I have a witness, Your Majesty.
Your Majesty, I leave the house in the early morning and come back at dusk. So I never met the neighbor.
Witness is not accepted because he came only in the afternoon when this young man was not at home. Regarding your recollection of the building materials, let me consider for a moment.
How come this young man remembers the construction materials in such detail? I've stayed in this palace for a long time, but I don't know how many joists, trellises, and tie beams there are. Anybody can know about these things because they're all visible items, so I can't assume that that man is the house owner. To find the real owner, I have to ask about something only the house owner can know.
Well, Mr. Sum, if you are the real owner, do you know what is under the post that was buried in the soil? What are its characteristics, or what did you put there? Please describe.
Your Majesty, I almost forgot about it because it's been such a long time. If I'm not mistaken, there was nothing under the post besides soil.
Well, how about you, Mr. Menup? Do you know if there's something special under the post?
Yes, Your Majesty. Under every post, I packed a heartwood into the soil in order to prevent a collapse, because the soil there has low density, Your Majesty.
Well, officers, please go and check if there's nothing under the post or if there is a heartwood under the post. Yes, Your Majesty! The officers go to the house and dig somewhere around the post. They find a heartwood laid under the post and come back to inform the king. The officers have found that there is really a big heartwood under the post, just as Mr. Menup told us earlier. Therefore, Mr. Menup is the real house owner. That's why he can remember something in the soil, while Mr. Sum is just a house guest who can remember materials in the house, but not something underground. Hence, the house will be returned to the owner, Mr. Menup, and Mr. Sum, who made up this lie, will be punished in accordance with the law.
Your Majesty, I know my mistake. Please forgive me, Your Majesty.
Your Majesty, thank you for arriving at justice with your wisdom.
After that, the house owner moved back to his own home and brought his parents to live with him. He also married Beaupère, and they lived happily together.